because I'm going to cut all that. All right. What's up, my people? We are back. Welcome to My Therapist Made Me Do This podcast with Mario and Friends. I am, of course, Mario. Now, been a while since I've been gone. I brought a friend with me this time. So say hey, babe.
Hey.
So we were just talking before, and we realized like people have never seen you before.
Yeah.
They've only heard you. Wait a minute, I feel like no, we did the merch. We were doing the merch. You was on the camera then.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That was one time.
So listen, I got a new camera and I really like the way it looks. I'm not gonna lie. This whole like YouTube transition thing has really been pissing me off because I've become something like a perfectionist when it comes to it, and it's driving me absolutely crazy. But nonetheless, all right. So, man, I have a lot to talk about, but I'm just gonna focus on Jessica today. So, we'll talk about like where I've been, what I've been doing, Jaden, my son, and all that other stuff on another episode. But today we're going to talk about transitions, and really wanted to. This actually stemmed from a conversation you and I had last night, as a matter of fact, like on the porch, and just talking about like what she does now and what that transition has been like. And I was like, damn, this would actually be a really good podcast episode. So that is what we're going to talk about today. How are you doing today, babe?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah. We ain't have to go to Mesa for my son football the game. Yeah, so we're pretty happy about it. Now, before we get started, I told you I wanted to talk about something real quick that has absolutely nothing to do with this episode whatsoever. First impressions. So Jess and I went to, well, the fam bam, the four of us now. Minus one. So we went to, Jessica came with this brilliant idea that we should go to church for some reason. So we go visit this church.
Okay, anyway.
So we go visit this church, right? Man. And so because of my history of church experiences, like, man, I really do go about church like almost dating for real. Because, man, I just have certain criteria you got to meet. So we walk into church, and mind you, we're late. We're a little late. We're a lot of late. Okay, we're a lot of late. I'm not going to lie. We're a lot of late. But nonetheless, we get there, and obviously we got the kids, so we're looking to put them in children's church. So
what
we
kind of church?
Children's church.
Okay.
Children's church.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
What?
Nothing.
So we looking, and this lady goes, I didn't even realize she had a burrito, but the lady goes, children's church closed. She did that for real? Oh shit, I didn't even see that part.
I did. I was ready to go.
So, man, she tells us that we're too late to go to children's church, right? So I got this look on my face. I'm already checked out. I got a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, and a 12-year-old. And I'm like, man, I don't need to go in church. But like, she didn't tell us like where to walk in the church at or like where to go in the main part of church. I just remember her saying, children's church not available right now. I guess she ate this big ass burrito. But all I remember her saying was, I'm tired. And I was like it totally turned me off of the whole church experience. So this could have been like the sermon that got me to heaven. And I totally missed it because I was so pissed off from my initial experience, right? So go ahead. You might say something?
No, it was definitely a very interesting welcome to the church. I've never been to a church where there wasn't like a welcome situation. Yeah. And we got to see Burrito Lady.
Burrito Lady is crazy. But I say all that to say, man, the importance of first impressions, it really can make or break how a person treats you, like what your interactions are in the future. And like, I don't even want to go back to this place because I felt so not welcome. I ain't saying you got to stop the whole sermon and come hug us, but man, just think about that with your interactions with people, and just always remember when you're in a situation um, where you're walking into something new. Just make sure your first impression is a lasting impression. That's all.
I didn't. I don't even know what the man was talking about with the sermon that day. I just was so yeah.
Damn.
I don't remember what he said. I just remember the one too cute, too cute, and I was like,
I don't even remember that part. You did that same little stupid dance too
that's how
last
he
night.
did it.
Too cute.
Too cute to praise. And I was like, I must have missed the first part to understand the context.
Yeah.
Just our daughter was just doing what she does best. She's 5, and she's not has no business being in regular people church. She's
Heaving.
supposed to be in children church.
Children church.
I would just repeat what you said.
Children's church.
That's okay.
Children's church. That's not how you children's church. Hey, look. All right, I'm way off topic. Just hold on, cause it's been a minute, so y'all gotta bear with me. All right, so Jess and I were in the car the other day. I promise this is the last story. It's gonna be all on her after this. I promise. We were talking about the word demure,
Oh
and I said I can use the word demure in a sentence, and she was like, "What is?" And I said, "Man, I got dressed and I couldn't see how I looked all the way down, so I went and looked in the mirror to make sure it was straight." And it just proves my point that you can use that dumbass word in like so many different contexts.
Currently, they're not using it correctly.
Demure.
It's not.
Demure.
This little TikTok trend is like it's killing me because that's not what the word means at all, and how they're using it.
Demure.
Demure.
Anyway, all right, that's it. Let's get to business.
I am not demure. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, all right, so that's enough of that. Let's get back on topic now. Today we got Jessica with us now. So, man, I really, like I said, I really wanted to have this conversation, and I should have had it closer to when you retired. But man, a lot of military people listen to our podcast. A lot of civilian people listen to our podcast. I also wanted to jump in here and say thank you to everybody that's been listening to the podcast in my absence, because it's been about a month and a half. Man, I'm still getting downloads from people. People leaving sticky notes on my desk saying thank you. So, boom, thank you for listening, nonetheless. All right. So, I wanted to talk to you. Just walk us through 22 years in the military. And on that day, what day did you retire on?
The 21st of June.
The 21st of June. Walk us through that day, which is kind of sort of your last day in the military, but kind of what were you going through emotionally during that day?
So my retirement ceremony was in the afternoon, so I had all morning to just kind of like mentally prepare. And it was interesting because I obviously after 22 years, 1 month and 9 days, don't forget that last part. It's important. I've been to countless retirement ceremonies. Friends of mine have retired, people that were super close to have retired, chiefs have retired. So I've been to a ton of retirement ceremonies, but it was so different when it was your own. So I started kind of getting emotional earlier in the day, and I was like, nope, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to just make sure everybody's together. And it felt like the day went by so fast. We had to be there. And in my mind, I thought we were leaving early. So I threw on some shorts and a t-shirt and ran out the door. And when you get there, I was like, oh, I need to be dressed in 5 minutes because it's time to go. Because your son decided to leave his ID card at home. So I had to rush and just, threw me all off. But it was a great ceremony. Quite a few friends showed up. It flew in from all over. So shouts out to Emily Mucker. She flew out from San Antonio. Lori Kelly flew out from Virginia. So it was really nice to have the people that that you've met along your career come and tune in, because we did do it live because obviously not everybody could show up.
Yeah.
My cousin came and surprised me,
True.
Which was great because my cousin is like my brother. So that was awesome that he came out to surprise me. So it was good. It was a great time.
Man, and I I don't remember who it was, but whoever that was emceeing your retirement ceremony, Academy Award performance.
Yeah, he emceed the ceremony. I don't know why he.
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
So it
Listen,
was very interesting because, of course, like initially he said he didn't want to do it because he
I
said
don't
he
want
was
to
going to
do
be
it.
too emotional.
I did think that.
But I thought it was great because I've always been a fan of retirement ceremonies and having people a part of my ceremony that means something to me because like people know me best. Like, I think a lot of people knew Sergeant Revere, but a lot of people didn't know Jessica. So it was really nice to like have people in my ceremony that really knew me. My our Air Force daughter, Kayla, flew out and she was in my ceremony. So she flew out from New Jersey. So it's great. It was really nice. Everyone in my ceremony that was a part of it meant something to me and had an impact along my career. So it was awesome.
Very demure.
No,
Okay, I had to try it.
it's not.
All right. So one of the things that damn dog. So
Yes, I'm telling you, we'll talk about it
one of the things that we notice a lot as military people who get ready to transition to the civilian sector, as we call it, is that most people don't know what they want to do when they grow up. So there's typically like a mad dash towards the end of their, military career, or they just have this weird lull period where they just do nothing. But that wasn't the case for you. So what did you transition to? Dang, were you working with them before you retired?
I did my student teaching there.
Yeah, so you were doing your student teaching, so you decided to become a teacher.
Correct.
Why?
Okay, so we have to rewind the clock just a little bit, not too long, but when I was an undergrad before I joined the military, I went to undergrad for 2 years. When I was an undergrad, I was actually a cell and structural biology major. Very,
Very nerd. Yeah.
very. And initially I wanted to go into the medical field. Like I wanted to be a neonatologist because, like, I just
Oh,
knew that's
not
what I
that.
wanted to do.
Not that.
And then it was during spring break of my freshman year, I went to visit my cousin JT, and his now ex-wife is a teacher. I mean, I don't know what to say. Like that's what she is. Like anyway, she's a teacher, and I went to school with her for like that week. I was off of spring break. She wasn't on spring break, so I went to school with her. And I was, I've always said like, I couldn't, but I could. And I was like, oh, this is actually pretty fun. Like, I actually enjoy doing it. Then my sophomore year rolled around. I did the same thing. And like, that kind of solidified it for me that I was like, yes, this is what I want to do. Now, of course, in true life fashion, like I joined the military, life changed. I was like, oh, maybe I'll go into nursing. They make a little bit more money, those kind of things. But it was like teaching always drew me back. Like we ended up, we were in it. Scott, like I ended up teaching in children's church, and like it just came so natural to me to like teach. So finally, I just caved in and was like, fine, like okay, I hear what you want. Like this is where I'm supposed to be. So from that point on, I just dove into teaching. Initially, it was difficult just because being in the military and we moved around every few years, like trying to
Yeah.
find a program. But after I finished my bachelor's, I actually found a master's program that allowed me to do my student teaching, like do everything. I only do 6 weeks of student teaching, which I did while I was active duty. My commander was awesome and allowed me to do like a TDY and be like, hey, like you can just go do your student teaching and not come to work. And I was like, yeah, great. It's awesome. So I did that. And ironically, the school that I did my student teaching in hired me that year, but I made senior master sergeant, took the stripe, and then they actually hired me back February of this year to teach seventh grade English language arts.
Mm, Now,
Mhm.
why? So I know the school you teach at now, like seventh grade, is a part of elementary school, which is crazy because that's
Because
totally different.
we're K-8, so here in Arizona, there's not a ton of true middle schools,
Yeah.
or at least in our area, there's not a lot of true middle schools. So our school is a K through eighth grade. However, they do regard seventh grade as middle school.
Yeah, that's just crazy. So, what made you pursue specifically seventh grade?
So, when we were stationed in DC, I had to do observation, and they
Hated it.
make you do observation in like a primary grade, so a lower elementary, and then they also make you do it in upper elementary, which at the time is 4 through 6. And I had always said I wanted to teach like third grade, and I was like, oh, third grade, like they're not too big, not too small. My first week, I had to do upper elementary first. So I did my observation in a sixth grade classroom. And I had a male teacher, and he was like, "Are you sure you don't want to do middle school? Like, you'd be so awesome with older kids." And I'm like, nope, I probably shouldn't check one of these kids. Like, I can't do it. So it's been a week there, and then the next week I went down to third grade, and it was then I was like, "Oh hell no, I could never do little kids. They still arguing over crayons. I can't do it." At least with middle schoolers, like I can talk to them. Like they know, like I don't even have to say anything. Like they already know what time it is. And my middle schoolers, like as interesting as they are, I actually really enjoy teaching seventh grade.
Oh, we gonna we gonna
We're gonna.
we gonna
I'm
get
sure
a
we'll
little
get
deeper
there.
here shortly. Now, all right. So, of course, um, you rallied the family together, and we go and decorate your classroom. Super dope, by the way. If you follow me on social media, go check it out.
It's
Like,
a little boho is my theme. A little nice, little zen,
what?
relax. Boho,
What the hell is that?
bohemian. It's bohoish for short.
Who says that?
Everybody. I follow a group. It's like boho women. Like it's a whole thing. He's late to the party. It's okay.
So y'all bohos.
Continue, please.
Anyway, so we got the class all done up.
Got
Boom.
LED lights and everything.
LED lights. Holla at your boy Mario Lighting for all your classroom lighting needs. I got you. Now, tell us about your first day as a teacher. Now, you've done all this preparation. You've been going to courses, preparation thing. You've been talking to people, getting some advice. But now you in it. You in the trenches. Tell us about your first day of school.
So, okay. So I also think it's important to note that like teachers go back early, but because I'm a new teacher to this district, I went back extra early. So most teachers went back on the 29th of July. I actually went back on the 15th of July and had all of my like new employee orientation, like, hey, you're a new teacher, like welcome. And like, here's what you not do here. Here's how you don't like chin check a kid. And it was good. It was, had good training. But you still don't really know what to expect. And we start school on a Thursday here. So I already knew like I'm not teaching anything legitimately on a Thursday, but we're just doing like introductions, getting to know you, like those kind of things. And before that, so we went back on the 29th, and on the 30th was meet the teacher night. So meet the teacher night rolls in, you meet all these kids, you meet all this, the parents, and they're, well, they're going to have homework. That's everyone's question. Like, are they going to have homework? Because they're super excited. Parents are super excited about homework, by the way. And kids are like, homework? You must be out your mind. So day one, I look at my little roster of kids, and some of them I know because remember, I did my student teaching there. And those kids were in the fourth grade. So I did my student teaching in a fourth grade classroom. So now they're in the seventh grade. So I legitimately have some of the same kids I had when I did my student teaching. So some of them come in and they're like, Miss Revere, that's you?
I know this black lady.
It's me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first day, like I just didn't know what to expect. I was nervous. I was anxious. Like I was all the things because you don't know. And like all we're gonna do is talk about like getting to know you, like me getting to know them, like learning their names because I have like 94 students that I across 4 blocks. So I have 4 blocks that I teach all day, and then I have 94 students I think total. So getting to know everybody, getting to like start to realize like personalities because you want to figure out like where you can sit them because some they gonna be like, oh, I can sit next to him, I can sit next to her. Yeah, you can, but you're gonna run me crazy the whole time. So just like it was interesting, but it was good. Like the first couple of days, it was like just getting classroom procedures, teachers understanding the schedule just because like we transition in seventh grade. So getting them to understand like how to transition, what time we need to start transitioning them, what time we need to start, getting them to pack up, those kind of things. So it was a learning curve for me as much as it was for the kids, but it was a fun couple of days just because we did a lot of getting to know you activities.
Now, one thing,
procedures, classroom management. Don't tear my stuff up. Yeah.
One thing we forgot to mention. Okay. So, are you saying the name of your school on here? Okay. All right. So one thing about the school that you teach at, it is predominantly Hispanic.
So I teach in a Title I school. So for those that are not in the education sector, Title I typically means that majority of your students are on free and reduced lunch.
Oh, sorry.
Free and reduced lunch. There's a few other things, but it's a Title I school. So majority of in the area that I teach is in a predominantly low income area. So majority of my students are Hispanic, Black, and but all are low would be considered low income because of the needs. Now, not everybody is. However, just the majority of the school is a low income.
Now, being that you have people that predominantly speak Spanish, right?
Mm-hmm.
What have been some of the challenges for you as a teacher teaching English to kids that don't speak English?
Yeah. So how it works in my school is that they're all of my English learners, so EL kids, are all most of them are in one block. So they can get pulled out for their EL instructions. They get pulled out for their EL instruction in social studies, and then of course like they filter to me. They just happens to be my second block. And there's a spectrum of where they are like learning English. Some of the kids have been in the program for a long time. Some of them are just barely getting into the program. The hard part about it is that as a new teacher, not only to teaching but new to the school, I don't know all of their backgrounds. So you have some kids who are like, yeah, I'm in the program but I absolutely can speak, we're just working on comprehension. Okay, cool, got it. Then you have some that like legitimately speak a little bit of English, or you have some that's trying to tell me that they don't speak no English, but they speak English. They sure do speak English.
Speaker English is crazy because I caught that.
So here's why. Because I have one student in particular that I was like really like, okay, I got to figure out like what can I do for him, those kind of things. So I happened to be talking to my AP, and she was like, "Who are you talking about?" I told her, and she was like, "Girl, listen, he speaks more English than he's letting on, and he likes to do that with people. So you make sure you let him know that you know that." So I was like, bet. So the next day, we were working on art because I have them, it's English, right? So I have them do a journal entry every day. Part of that is just to get them used to writing because these are also kids that were in school during COVID and they hate writing. And a lot of kids this day and age just hate writing because it's not part of their everyday like it was for us. So he comes in and he's like trying to give me this like, I don't understand. So I was like, listen, I heard that you know more English than what you're letting on. Then he gives me that like, who told you that? Oh, see, you're not about to do me today.
See, go ahead. I see what you did there. See,
that's not.
Oh no, okay.
That's not at all what I was trying to do. But I was like, okay, bet. Go ahead and write me my stuff.
Mm-hmm. Now, so
one
far,
of the reasons why I like middle school because you can talk to them like that, and they're like, okay,
she about to get fired. So, have there been any funny moments that you've had with the kids so far? I don't want to make it seem like it's just been like this everyday struggle, an uphill battle you're dealing with every day. Because I know kids are pretty entertaining, sometimes voluntarily and involuntarily.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's been a few funny moments. Like, don't get me wrong, like my classes can be challenging, but we have a good time. So I will say, just recently talking about demure. So one of my students, she's pretty popular. She's a great student. So she was trying to say, "Oh, you're very compassionate. You're very kind. You're very demure." And I was like, "Girl, that's not what that stands for." She's like, "What?" I was like, "That's not what the word means at all." So I tell her what the word means, and I'm like, "So that's not very demure." Like I use it in the right context.
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Man, you thought you ate," and I was like, "I did eat." I was like, "Just because you don't know what the word means, that I do." So we have we always have this good banter, and I tell them like, I love words, so you can come in here with like all kinds of words. I'm like, that's great, but you will use it correctly in my classroom.
What's that shirt you had on the other day?
Oh, silently correcting your grammar.
It was like the most I'm an English teacher thing I have ever seen in my life.
Silently correcting your grammar all day.
Man, so let's talk about influential people that are teachers. Who, if any, was your first influence? The first person that really sparked your desire to be a teacher? Like, who was the one that did it for you?
So So I don't know. So I mean, like, so I guess part of that credit would have to go to Sandra because I went into her classroom and I think part of it too was like, her telling me like, you could totally do this. Like, I guess she used to be a sports medicine major before she,
Same.
before she went into teaching. And part of her story was like, look, all my friends had these like projects and it was fun. And I was over here buried in like sports medicine crap. So she made the switch. But part of it too was like her being able to tell me like, that giving me more insight into the career field. I think I've always loved learning. I've always loved English. So shouts out to Miss Lemons, who was my sophomore English teacher. Shouts out to Miss Weaver. Well, she's Miss Cooper now. She actually taught me English my freshman year and my senior, no, not my senior year, my freshman year. And then I worked with her on yearbook staff and she's got her doctorate. So congratulations, Dr. Cooper. But like, and then Miss McGee, who was my biology teacher, like they just sparked a love of learning for me, even in high school. And I think for me, that's what fuels me to be better because a lot of times, like even in high school, like, yes, I was a good student, but it was because I had teachers that put me in position for me to showcase that I was good or to tell me, like that they believed in me. So I would say like, no, they didn't directly steer me into teaching, but they always steered me into learning. Hence why I can't stop going to school. I'm gonna stop after this though.
Sicko mode. Now, being a teacher, so I kind of, as I just started recently coaching basketball, and like one of the things I think about a lot is like legacy, right? And I always think like every group of kids I coach, I'm always like, what do I want them to remember me by? Like, what do I want the lesson I want them to learn? So for you in your first year, I know it's super early, but like by the time school ends in May,
May 23rd, I think, to be exact.
how do you want your kids to remember you, Mrs. Revere, their seventh grade English teacher?
I want them to remember me as someone who constantly pushed them to be better. I feel like regardless of the conditions that my students have, like what they have going on, like I believe that they can do it. And they consistently show me that they can do it, but sometimes they just need a little push. So I want them to remember that I never gave up on them, that I always constantly pushed them to be better. That's what I want for them.
Oh, that's heavy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And man, so I guess you quantify that by like how they do on their test, or as I heard this dude say, on their tests. On their tests.
It's just so subjective. So I
Yeah.
just gave my first district assessment. So obviously, like education is run by your school district. So there's measures. So we have our state standards, and there's measures that they want to make sure, hey, like at this stage, are these testing, the kids testing on these standards, what do they know? Or how well do they know it? So we go based upon proficiency level. So you're either highly proficient, partially proficient, and minimally proficient. Are the phrases, or what we're using. So I do my first test, and I'm like, okay, I've worked my butt off for the last 4 weeks, like making sure they understand it, providing exit tickets, like checks for knowledge, like making sure they got it. And I'm like, okay, great. Not everybody got it. Like at the end of the day, while you want 100% of your students to get it, like truly get it, it's not feasible. It's not going to happen. So you do the best that you can, and you're like, okay, great. Like 80% of the kids got it, and then we can always go back and reteach because the standards that we're going right now, we're going to continue to do them. So to give my first test, and I had kids that did great. Like I got 100%ers, I got 90%. I'm like, bet, like they're advanced. Like you can see that. And then I have other kids who did not care. Mind you, the test is only 10 questions, but it is English language arts. So it's reading a passage and they're gonna ask you questions. Ain't no way you got done in 4 minutes. Ain't no way. You didn't read that fast. Like there's no ain't, and I know you can't read that fast.
Rain Man would have finished it that fast. That's all I'm
So
saying.
it's just those are the frustrating parts because it's like, A, you messing up my class average. B, I want you to try. Like I want you to show me that you either you know it or you don't. And it's okay if you don't, but we can work on that.
Yeah.
So it makes it hard because I'm very data driven when it comes to education, like understanding like, hey, you did this is how you answered. Let me figure out how I can reteach you this so you can answer it, so you can get it correct the next time. So that kind of sucks. However, I was talking to my teaching and learning specialist, And like I showed her like my data, like my results and stuff. And she was like, Jessica, like this is actually really good. Like these kids last year, she's like, I'm gonna pull the data for you. She was like, no, like you're doing a great job. Like keep it up. Like, just up the ante, obviously, because that's what you do every time. But yeah, I was like, okay, so I don't totally suck. Cause of course, like I wanted all my kids to be like 80% or higher, because like that's my goal for them, because I know that they can do it.
Yeah.
I get it. Some of my EL kids, like they're not, because they're just still learning English, but I still want them to do the best that they can.
Yeah. Now, for you, um, well, I think we mentioned it a couple of times on the podcast, but um, you're currently finishing up your PhD.
I'm working on it, yes.
So, what are your future goals in education? Am I too early with this question?
No, so actually, and I know we're going to talk about Jane at another point, but
Yeah.
So I'm actually getting my doctorate in my educational doctorate. So my EDD, it's a little bit different than a PhD, because I'm really looking at applied research. So like my research is going to be something where I can introduce it to my site and say, this is what I've researched and found, and here's my recommendations to fix the problem. So the difference between an EDD and a PhD is like I'm legitimately going to like try to do something applied for you to fix your problem that you have. And I'm actually using my research to help my school. So obviously, my research is going to be very centered around seventh grade students in English language arts and our Arizona standards assessment test. But I really want to go into like academic coaching, like student success, because I think that when we went to Jaden's school, he's got an academic coach, and I love what she does, because
Yeah.
she really teaches kids like how to figure it out themselves. Like, how do I learn? And then helping them along the way to do that. And that's absolutely totally up my alley. So my doctorate will be in curriculum and instruction. So really understanding like curriculum. I've always said I wanted to write curriculum, and maybe that's down the road. I'll eventually do that. But I definitely want to get into some more like student success planning and stuff like that.
Shout out Dr. Earl,
Dr.
man.
Earl is
We
amazing.
love her, man.
Yeah, and honestly, like it was meeting her and like kind of seeing the program that they run at that school, and I was like, if I got into higher ed, that's absolutely where I would want to work. Like I want to work in your student success center.
Yeah.
I want to be able to like push students, especially like those kids that don't, they get to college and they're like, yeah, I was a great, because like that was me. I was a great high school student. Like I graduated top of my class, and I got to college and I struggled because I just, the rigor was totally different than what I was used to.
The what?
The rigor.
Oh. I was just checking. I was like, ma'am, this is a family show.
So for me, it's like having someone there and like how schools are migrating to the Student Success Center. I think that's super amazing. So that would be an area that I would want to get into eventually.
Man, that's dope. Fellas, if you listening or watching this, listen, just trust me. Marry a nerd. Just trust me. Like, just, I always say, like, look, I'm not that smart when it comes to certain things. Certain things I am extremely smart in.
Absolutely.
But, like, all around, listen, marry up in the education department. You don't want no dummy. Like, you don't, PhD. That's all I'm saying. That means something totally different in my line of work.
That's what I'm not getting my PhD. I'm getting my EDD. It's a little different.
Erectile dysfunction disorder. In my,
That's not what that is.
that's what that means in my line of work. Now,
Not mine.
all right. So let's bring this home, man. Let's bring this home. So I don't want to keep you too long, but
I ain't gotta work tomorrow.
I know we got to do another podcast tomorrow too, because you got to change clothes. You got to make it look like this.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah. All right. If there was one thing that you could go back and change about your journey from going to college initially, saying, man, this ain't it, joining the Air Force, retiring, and becoming a teacher, is there anything about your journey that you would change? That's a good question.
Great question. So some days, like I wish I would have joined the education field a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And partly because like there's so much wrong that I see, or I'm like, man, like I really like if I would have broken into this field a little bit earlier, like maybe from a advancement in teaching, like I could be further down the line and starting to do more things. However, I also feel like I live in a world of no regret. And I'm like, man, like had I not stayed in the Air Force, had I not done those last 2 years, because I was telling we were talking about it. I think I don't know, like right close when I retired, and I was talking about like I think you asked me did I regret like staying like taking senior and like staying those extra 2 years.
Yeah.
And and not going like because I said I got hired to teach in the school that I literally got hired like right after I finished my student teaching. And I was like, no, because not that the admin was terrible, but definitely there's been a lot of changes in the school in the 2 years that I was gone. And I'm all about divine intervention, all about divine timing. And I don't know had I went to the school then if I would still be there. Just because there was so much changes in administration, so many changes in policy, and teachers will tell you everywhere. I mean, just any job, like your leadership, like your management, like you want to work for people that believe in what you believe in.
Absolutely.
And especially in the education world, like my principal now, like she's amazing. She came to my retirement ceremony.
Shout out Miss Chavez, man.
Shout out to Miss Chavez.
Good lady.
She is amazing, and I love having conversations with her because she is about she's about student success, and she's also about how can she set up her teachers for the best things possible. And I like the fact that and mind you, I told them up front, like I don't want, I don't want to do nothing. I don't want to do nothing in leadership, but guess what I'm doing? Stuff it. Like she's got me. You're going to be in charge of National Junior Honor Society, and I was like, okay, I could do that. It's totally up my alley. Don't break it.
Right.
But so little things like that where it's amazing to have someone that actually cares, that actually wants to see teachers grow. So I love her. She's great. So I'm glad that I waited and actually like took the job. My last like year and a half definitely changed like the way I do things, how I do things when it comes to like management, leadership, and all those kind of things. It also helped me to transition well.
Man.
Because I needed those 2 years to truly like unplug and figure life out.
Yeah, we about to show you real life street stories from Mario. All right.
There we go.
Computer's about to die.
I'm trying to get his own together. So yeah, I don't regret it. It was good.
All right. So 2 more questions and we gonna bring this home. Okay. So
why do we eat some ice cream after this?
If I'm a young up and coming person in the military, or just period, not even in the military, college student, like, and I have dreams of being an educator one day, what advice would you give me?
So I have a few pieces of advice.
This about to change somebody's life. I can feel it. Go for it.
One, you have to have a heart for this work.
Yep.
You cannot, first of all, you're not making a lot of money.
Oh,
you're not.
I'm gonna go ahead.
That'll be next question.
But
you're not making a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, and I will tell you, I absolutely do not make enough money for how much time and effort that I put into what I do. So lesson plan, like I'm going to work more on lesson planning tomorrow. I'm actually going to the school tomorrow morning to make copies and get myself ready for the week. I don't get paid overtime for that. So first and foremost, you have to have a heart for what you do. Secondly, for me, it was about finding the population that I wanted to serve. And being a person that I knew was going to be retiring from the Air Force and going into teaching, like I knew that being a strong person, like my personality is better served, especially being a woman, a Black woman, in a position where people that need that structure. So in my school, these kids, like they already know Ms. Revere don't play that. Like she is not with it. Like I told a student the other day, I said, don't do me. I don't know who you, don't do me today. But part of it is that they need that structure. So I always knew that I wanted to teach in a Title I environment because those kids typically, they either are getting teachers who are, and mind you, yes, as a brand new teacher. So yes, you're getting me as a brand new teacher, but you're also possibly not getting those teachers that actually are like, they're just there. And that's not always the case because I have some amazing teachers in my school that love these kids, that want to see these kids do great. And that's probably the one thing that I enjoy about my school is that all the teachers there are wanting to see these kids do better. However, research has shown that retention rates in those type of schools, in Title I schools that are in rural or urban populations, like they don't have teachers that stay on forever because typically in those areas they're not making a lot and they can go out to suburbia and make a little bit more money in a different district. So that was my thing. Like I always want, and then I just felt like I don't know. I just feel like those kids deserve to have somebody who actually cares. And again, I'm not saying that all teachers don't care because that's not it. Now, I am going to say there are some teachers out here who don't give a damn.
Hashtag Miss McGrady.
Wow. Just calling people out.
10th grade science.
So I mean, like, we can just be very honest. There's teachers out here, and there's teachers that we've encountered with our kids that were just like, yeah, that they're just here.
Yeah.
But some of that is burnout. So I would say for sure, like, you've got to have a heart for this work. So have a heart for the work. Understand you're not going to make enough, but you have to want to do this. And also, like, you have to keep it fun. You have to be relevant, especially if you're teaching in the middle school. And you have to be, and I'm going to say creative, but not necessarily creative like crafty, but being able to dig out and find ways to teach kids because they don't all learn the same way. And you have to have a really thick skin because for a couple of reasons. One, your kids are going to give it to you every single day, and you have to be able to bounce back from that. I'm still listen. These kids one day I was listening, I thought I was gonna lose my mind. Like I was like, it is only 4 weeks into school. Why y'all acting like this?
Heathens.
But you also just have to be able to to realize that sometimes your kids are acting out because they don't get it or you're not doing it right. And I will be honest, there was a day where I just thought my lesson was the bomb.com. And it wasn't. Like you could tell it just did not go over. And I have 4 blocks that I get to do it like my first block. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna change a little bit for my second block. Ooh, I'm gonna change a little bit more for my third block. By the 4th block, I was like, okay. So that didn't go over well with my students the way I thought it was. Maybe at somebody else's school with a different batch of students, it would have. So I regrouped. I came back the next day, did it again, and they were like, oh, that's what you were trying to say yesterday? Yes, that's what I was trying to say yesterday.
No, but that's
what it felt like because they got it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like when they get it, like
the light bulb.
Yeah. So kids were like, oh, yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, thank goodness, because I was about to quit because I didn't know what I was doing. So you have to be open for correction and be open for feedback because a brand new teacher, first year, like I'm always like my teaching and learning specialist comes in and gives me feedback after she's observed my classroom or observed me, and I'm always like, okay, tell me I suck. It's okay. She was like, no, actually, you're doing this great. You know, we want to refine this area, and she's actually moving me along in my like development plan faster than I expected. And she's like, we're super impressed with what you're doing, and I'm like, oh, okay. I thought she wanted to tell me I sucked. I mean, I don't know. Like you just, and as a new teacher, like yes, probably the one thing I have on my side right now is I have 22 years of work experience. So there's certain things that don't get to me. There's certain things that I let roll off my back. And on top of that, I was in the military and I dealt with adult children all the time. So,
do you tell your students that you were in Afghanistan having bombs chucked at you?
Yep.
Okay.
I did because I told
like, hey, just so you know, ain't nothing.
Yeah, well, something happened. I was like, my PTSD about to flare up. Y'all better stop acting like this.
Don't do that.
I did. I did. I don't remember what happened, but I was like, y'all better stop playing with me. My PTSD about to start flaring up. Next thing you know.
Anyway.
Whatever you got to do.
Last question, and we're going to get out of here. I want you to step outside of yourself for a second. Okay. I want you to give yourself a positive affirmation about the rest of your school year. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, because I'm telling you, like, sometimes the future looks bleak.
Yep.
Because we have a lot of material to get through, and yeah, we're getting ready to start a new writing curriculum a writing method that I'm teaching them on Tuesday. So I'm just, preparing. So what I would tell myself from a positive affirmation is that while the results may not look like how you want them to look, any progress is forward movement for your children. Like you have to think more about, even if they only grew 3%, there was growth, and that's what matters.
Yeah.
That would be what I would tell myself. Yeah. Because I would say, for my research that I'm starting, 71% of my students are partially proficient or minimally proficient.
Damn.
I'm pretty sure if I had the little paper that you probably put up somewhere. Yeah. So I have students that are starting at a deficit. Like I've got 46, I think, percent of my students are minimally proficient and like 21 or something like that. But yeah, I have my
Jesus
students
Christ.
are definitely starting a little bit lower. So while I would love for them all to be proficient and I would love for them all to be highly proficient, that's not going to happen. And sometimes that reality check for me, because to keep myself sane, because I see the potential in them, and I'm going to have a handful of students that are absolutely going to kill that test in May, or no, I'm sorry, in March. They're going to kill it. They're going to knock it out of the water. And every year or every benchmark that we take, they're going to do great. I've got students that are getting 100 on the test, and I'm like, okay, you better do it. I got kids that are getting 20%.
Damn.
10 questions. You do the math. So, I have to be okay with my kids that get 100%. And I have to be okay with my kids that get a 20% because hopefully on the next test, they get a 40% and that's growth. No, they're not passing, but it's growth.
I wish I would have known you when I was a kid. Because when I was bringing them L's home, I should tell mom, like, Mom, last test I made a 0. This one I made a 10. That's
Growth.
growth. That's growth.
So I will say that I feel
She'd
like
have
the
beat my ass.
education system looked different, when we were growing up.
Oh
Because
yeah.
now, I mean, even if you look at our own child who struggles in math, like as much as I want him to be at a certain level, he's not. So I have to be okay with the fact that, okay, you know what? He is here. But after a month, he's grown. It's not a lot, but he's grown. So that means that there's potential for him to do. And then we as parents, right, because we're involved, have to look for ways that we can help supplement his education. I have to realize that not all my kids at my school have the family structure that we do,
Yeah.
have the support that we do. And sometimes I'm the support. Like I'm the one that's pushing them and telling them, you can do this. This one student, I get up in his tail every day and I tell him all the time, you're not giving me what I know you're capable of. And I'm like, I need you to give me what I know you're absolutely capable of. And he's like, yes, ma'am. And I'm like, all right, let's get to it. And he works for me. He don't work for everybody, but he works for me. So for me, I'm like, they're like, oh, well, he's in my class and he showed his tail. I said, well, he works for me. And part of that is because I tell him, I said, oh, I'm sorry, this is not the student that I know. I need you to give me what I know you're capable of.
Damn. Well, but I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I do love, so I love, personally, I love when people nerd out about their jobs. Like, because it shows me that you care. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, I don't even care what it is. You can be a trash man, a mailman. Like, when people legitimately nerd out about their job, I think that's dope. So, wishing you the best this school year. Man, shout out to him.
I got some teacher gifts already.
I was getting ready to say, man, shout out to everybody that she put out a call for, I guess this thing the teachers do, they be begging for people to send them stuff. But man, like every day for like it felt like forever. We was getting Amazon packages and like people just anonymously sending people that she knew. But like, man, people just from all over were just flooding her with things to help her grow her classroom. So to me, that's a testament to people understanding your struggle, but also understanding like you're passionate about what you're doing and know you're gonna kill it. Yeah. So and they just want to be a part of that journey with you. So that's dope, man. Thank y'all, man.
Yeah, for those that send stuff, like, man, like,
claps.
Oh yeah, clap it up. Yeah, like I've got students who don't have. So like I have a little care center in my classroom. So it has, eyeglass cleaners, hair ties, tissues, feminine products, deodorant.
Not for your ass.
Oh, that's another story for another
time. For another time.
I mean, whenever, if you got time. So like things like that, like helping me like put positive affirmation posters in my classroom, like anchor charts, like it costs a lot of money to get a classroom how you want it. So thank you so much to everybody that sent stuff. That's been asking me like, hey, do you need anything else? Like I absolutely appreciate it because man, like they absolutely needed it. Like I've already got to restock some of the things because they're already gone. Hair ties are actually one of the things that I need to restock on. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
I know.
Cool, man. Well, that does it for our episode. I really hope this come out good because I'm telling you, this audio has been driving me crazy, but I think I got it figured out. So we're gonna find out. So make sure you tell a friend, tell a friend. Follow us right there, right there, right there, and right there.
I don't know what he was pointing at first. I was like, oh, yeah. I see it now.
You see it? Good Pods, YouTube, Facebook. That's Instagram right there. Instagram. Right there. But man, thank y'all for listening. I appreciate y'all as always. I got a couple more to knock out.
2 minutes since our anniversary.
Oh, damn. We ain't staying on for that. All right. Okay. I gotta feed the dog. All right. Until next. Why he still barking? Damn. All right. Until next time, I love y'all. Make sure y'all keep making memories. Thank y'all for listening as always. Baby, thank you for being my guest. Now y'all see what you like in the fresh, in the flesh.
Little nose right now. # retired.
I'm leaving.